It's no Diablo 2. Diablo 4 released on the 5th of June this year. To, much fanfare? Mixed fanfare? Review bombing? What did you expect? It's a game from Blizzard. But I mean, this is Diablo 4. The Diablo for those of us who,
not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
You can play on your tablet, too.
Yes, it's also on the Switch.
Watch this, Lise. You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half.
You're right.
No, just enjoy playing Diablo other places than on the toilet or on a bus. For those of you who were born after the year 2000, Diablo might not mean really all that much to you, outside of that one dungeon crawler that came out in 2012, and of course all the BlizzCon memes.
Is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
More like Blizz conned us again, am I right, ladies and gentlemen? Seriously though, the Diablo franchise was one of the series that put Blizzard on the map. The other, of course, being the Warcraft and Starcraft series. So why not get comfortable, stay a while, and listen as we go through the series on how Diablo has evolved into the 4th iteration we're playing today. Diablo 1 was a fun action roleplay game, heavy on story, about a hero arriving in the small town of Tristram, finding the remaining townsfolk clinging to the edges of their sanity and trying to aid this new wanderer in pushing back the monsters and demons that had begun to flow from the cathedral. The Archbishop Lazarus had been manipulated by Diablo, the titular villain, and one of the Burning Hells' prime evils, who now had himself a mortal form and was seeking to overrun the world of mortals. The story culminates in a climactic battle of which our hero succeeds in defeating Diablo, only to face the grim reality of having to imprison him once again, driving the Soul Stone into his body in an attempt to contain the evil of Diablo within himself. That didn't pan out so good. As the progenitor of the series, Diablo 1's gameplay loop is a little clunky, but lays the foundation of the series strong. You stock up and repair your gear in Tristram, talk to the townsfolk to pick up their quests, then delve into the cathedral and venture down into its seemingly endless catacombs, defeating enemies to gain experience, level up, and get new gear to either pawn or equip. The real standout of Diablo 1 is its story, its fantastic setting, its music. This game looks like the kind of old DOS game creepypastas were written about. And with its heavy lean into the occult and demonic, that's really no surprise. Diablo 1 was a huge success, which whipped the public into a frenzy when the news of its sequel was announced in 1997, Diablo 2.
Many moons have passed since I left the town of Tristram behind me. Since then, I've tried to forget the terrors I beheld beneath the cold earth, and the twisted nightmares that have haunted my every waking moment. There's something dark within me now. I can feel it, driving me towards the east, assuring me that my salvation lies within the ruins of ancient kingdoms. Though I know the way, I know not what perils will arise to hinder my journey. And as I pass through the first gate, I know that the better part of my soul will remain behind. Forever.
forward to the year 2000, and Diablo 2 hit store shelves on June 28th. The sequel, which improved incredibly upon the first game, with more classes, skills, locations, and expanded story, now spanning across 5 acts. So much was crammed into this iconic piece of video game history, and its eventual expansion, Lord of Destruction. The story picks up where Diablo 1 ended, but from the perspective of the vagrant Marius.
Why did I follow him? I don't know. Why do things happen as they do in dreams?
Who found himself compelled to follow the figure known as the Dark Wanderer. Somebody that may be familiar to players of the first game, as he is in fact the warrior from Diablo 1. After driving Diablo's soulstone into his body, the Dark Wanderer has been struggling to retain his control, prone to violent demonic bowel movements that kinda just mess up anyone who swoops in for a drink. Oh my god! And who has been traveling east since the first game events. Why east? What happened to the other heroes from the first game? Only time will tell. Diablo 2 ups the ante this time around, as not only do we end up facing Diablo, the Lord of Terror, but his brothers also make an appearance in both Baal, the Lord of Destruction, and Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred. None of the player characters from the first game return as selectable heroes for this adventure. However, we have a number of new protagonists to choose from in thwarting the Servants of Hell. The Amazon, Necromancer, Barbarian, Sorceress, and Paladin are all selectable within the base game, and the expansion bringing 2 additional classes to the roster, which is the Druid and the Assassin. Diablo 2 will always hold a special place in my heart. Me and my friend Dave played the hell out of this game in school, and a decade later I introduced this game to my partner, and the 2 of us played through the full campaign multiple times whenever I'd come down to visit them. It's the kind of game that still feels so satisfying to play, even if it's 23 years old. It's iconic in every sense of the word. So much so that Blizzard actually re-released this game as Diablo 2 Resurrected in 2021, the only game in the entire series to receive any form of a remake. Diablo 1 and 2 were made by the incredibly talented people at Blizzard North, weaving a compelling and bleak narrative with elements of role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons. These 2 games are a blast. The trouble all started with the merger in 2008, where Activision curled its slimy appendages around Blizzard and engulfed them into its vile clutches. Truly, they were the 4th primeval no one dare speak of. Diablo 3 hit some delays because of this. Well, some delays might be a bit of an understatement, releasing 12 years after its predecessor in May of 2012. Now, I want to preface this by saying that Diablo 3 has its fans. A lot of them, I'm sure. But personally, Diablo 3 really just didn't do it for me. It was clear the same level of storytelling and atmosphere that went into the first 2 entries was just not here for Diablo 3. A lot of my friends have always said D3 feels more arcadey to them. Gone are the skill trees of the previous games, instead with a focus on paragons. Basically an infinite leveling system that gives you very small stat increases.
Ooh.
Which personally I wasn't really big on. Diablo 3 was also the game to bring in seasons to the Diablo equation. And while for some, these were a great excuse to try out a new class and build, I just couldn't get into more than a few of the seasons, honestly. The game had an auction house that worked off real-world money for a time, only for Blizzard to pull the plug on it later, stating that it really hurt the game. Which, I mean,
No shit.
the story this time around focuses on new characters, which are something called the Nephilim, the offspring of angels and demons. And if that sounds a little Mary Sue for you, you'd be right. I guess to me, the fun and fear in Diablo stems from our protagonists really being nobodies, heroes who have risen up from the people to fight against unspeakable evils that have spilled forth from hell itself. And then with Diablo 3, suddenly we're just the chosen one, and that status is thrust upon us, which, feels like we're almost undermining the threats of the demons itself.
Demons fear them. Angels fear them also. They are Nephilim.
That's kind of a lame name. And finally, we arrive at the latest entry in Diablo. Diablo 4. I don't know, man. I got mixed feelings here. So on one hand, the game feels a lot more like Diablo 2 than 3.
That's good.
The colors are darker, skill trees are back again, and even the Paragon board feels actually interesting this time around. We have a transmog system akin to Diablo 3, but this time you don't actually need to pay to change how you look. A very welcome update. The world is grim again. We even briefly revisit Tristram. Okay, yeah, it's only for like 5 minutes, but it's there. The old music washing over me really did put a smile on my face. But, like the Nephilim, there must be balance. The story feels almost Mario-esque. We spend 90% of the game talking to NPCs telling us, "Oh, Lilith, yeah, you just missed her." It's the whole princess in another castle shit non-stop. Only to finally confront her and kind of be left going, "Wait, that's it? Where is Diablo? Did they forget him?" Yeah, I know the titular villain of the series, the character whose name's slapped on the goddamn box of the game. He isn't in the game.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
We see a fair bit of Mephisto throughout the game, which is nice, but no Diablo feels kind of weird. It'd be like making a Sonic game without Sonic. And then we have a cash shop, because of course there's a fucking cash shop, with outfits costing upwards of 40 New Zealand dollars. That honestly feels like an insult.
That's a bold choice.
No, see, if something's addictive because it's fun, that's one thing. But this is just blatant Skinner box manipulation. Wait a minute. Who put this out?
That Bobby Kotick.
Oh, that son of a bitch. He's always doing this shit.
And while the transmog system, like I said, is free, the actual amount of unique cosmetics, excluding of course the paywalled ones, leaves a lot to be desired. And then of course we have a battle pass for the seasons.
What is my purpose?
You sell in-game items and battle passes.
Oh my god.
Look, I know a lot of games do battle passes nowadays, and have a successful little side hustle going. Fortnite, Apex Legends, Dead by Daylight, Overwatch 2, Call of Duty, but, I mean, really? Like, did Diablo really need season passes? Look, maybe I'm just with games, but more and more I'm seeing stuff half-baked and rushed out the door. These illusions of a gaming experience masking the real intention of these companies nickel and diming their player bases for more and more of their money, even after having the cheek to charge full prices for the game. At least League of Legends is fucking free, right? I know this probably sounds a little negative and heavy-handed, and in truth, I have had a good time with Diablo 4. The gameplay is fun, each class feels fun to build upon, the story actually feels interesting, ending things on a bit of a cliffhanger that I'm sure we'll see expanded in a future DLC.
That we'll pay for.
It's definitely not the best game in the series, but it's still a fun experience in its own right, especially if you're playing with a friend or two. So would I recommend buying it? Well, I mean, not over Diablo 2, but yes, I would. With the game's first season underway, new quest lines and gears have at least been added to the game, and if you're taking your time, you'll easily sink 20 plus hours into your first character. completing the side quests, gearing up, doing the dungeons. Just, if you see the butcher, maybe just run. He's kind of a bastard when you're still learning to play the game. And I think that'll about do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. And if you feel so inclined to appease the great primeval that is the YouTube algorithm, why not leave a comment on your favorite Diablo entry? Have you been playing Diablo 4 and grinding up all those spicy ancestral uniques? Holding out hope maybe for an uber unique to drop before the inevitable heat death of the universe? Whew! Who'd have thought there could be so many zeros before that one, right? Or maybe you're just jumping into Diablo 1. Just saying, the game is on GOG for like $10. Take care, my fellow necromancers, and any other class that's in the audience, and I'll see you all again in the next video.